and today we're going to talk with Mario from Maryland. Mario, how are you doing today?
Doing pretty good, pretty good.
Hey, so listen, I wanted to ask you a few questions about one of your trucks in particular, but if you want to talk about the other ones later on, then we'll dive into those too. But I wanted to talk to you about your Safari truck. So, for anybody that doesn't know, can you run down your make, model, what engine you have in that, and give us some brief description in it?
Okay, it's a 2012 F-250. I bought the truck in January of 2012. It's a 6.7 inside, and when I originally bought this truck, I was just gonna put some wheels on it, slight tune, was gonna leave the emissions, everything, not gonna change anything at all. And
You weren't
you
going to
know,
put lights on it? No
Yeah,
lights, no nothing?
no, I'm gonna do any of that. I was just some wheels and a small tune. Drove it around for. I drove it around for maybe 2 weeks. I think I had something like 5 or 6 thousand miles on it, and I was like, man, I have to get some more sound out of this thing. It was so quiet. It was like it was annoying how quiet it was. It didn't sound like you could talk next to this truck running on the cell phone. You could have a full conversation on the hood and not know that the truck was running.
And that's a huge problem.
Huge, huge. So I called up Eric, and Eric hooked me up, and I got the I got this thing running, and within, I don't know, 6 days, I made the first trip to Florida, and the truck ran. I was going like, let's say, excessive speed limit to to Florida at night, and I was making like 25 miles to the gallon. This thing was doing killer. It was amazing, and I got home, and I was like, man, I need just a little bit more whistle out of this thing. Started messing around, got a filter, got a full exhaust, got a couple more things, painted to match, got rid of all the chrome, and the truck was really nice. I really liked how it looked, and I was, me and this buddy of mine that he was my best friend in high school. Me and him were really, really tight, and we always wanted that fast truck, that fast car. All through high school, the whole time I knew this kid, all he wanted to do was, I'm gonna build this fast Mustang someday. With my uncle's engine. My uncle's gonna help me. We're gonna put this fast car together, and it's gonna be this, and it's gonna be that. And he knew what kind of heads he wanted. He knew what kind of stroke he wanted out of the motor. He knew what compression he was gonna run. I mean, this young kid that is years away from owning a car had, I mean, down to the compression, stroke. He had every little detail worked out in his head how this car was going to be built. And, years later, after I had this truck and we were driving, me and him had kind of drifted apart as life, changes. You kind of lose touch a little bit, and I got a call one morning that he had been killed the previous night. A lady crossed the line and killed him in the car.
Wow.
And he had a diesel, he had a Mustang, and he had this little Eclipse. Um, the 7.3 that he had developed this oil leak that they all do around the oil dipstick, and he was kind of in between fixing it. He didn't know if he was going to sell the truck or fix it or whatever. He wanted one of the new ones, but he didn't really have the money, and he he passed away. If he was in his truck, the girl probably would have died because she would have just run right under the truck.
Mm.
And that was the day that I was like, you know what? I always wanted to really dig into one of these things and make some real power with it. And that was that same day. I called up Maryland Performance and I bought the first single turbo kit. Bought the 366 kit and I bought the dual fueler and took the thing apart in my at my house out in the backyard. Little teeny 12 by 16 shed with a prop up tent, and put the turbo kit in. And man, I ran that thing, and I hated it. The 66 was so slow, but when it hit, it felt great. But so I was calling Craig back and forth, and calling down to the shop, and riding by there every once in a while, and talking to him, and changing things here and there. And Craig helped me out with some of the tuning and stuff. And I went down there one day, and they were putting this the first 400 kit on Craig's dually, the 467, and I was like, "What are you guys doing?" And Craig said, "Oh, we're piping in the our first 400 kit for the 6.7." And I said, "Well, why are you doing it on this? Why aren't you doing it on mine?" And I bought the first 467 kit, and that weekend I went to Carlisle and I put it on the dyno there, and I think I made like 749. And I thought, man, that is so awesome. I'm over 500. All I ever wanted was 500 horsepower at the wheels. This thing was 749, and I was like, man, that's so cool. But 1,000's got to be right around the corner.
Right. You just need that little bit more, right?
A little bit more boost and a little more fuel on the tune, and I think we got it.
Mm-hmm.
And it evolved from there, and now the truck's got 1483, I think it was the last time, the highest number it's made.
Mm-hmm.
Had the single on it, the 485 single. It did 1483 at the first KOS.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that was like, man, I hit 1,500 horsepower. Well, 2,000's not that far.
Right. You always have to have that little bit more. You get it, and then it's like, oh, well, you know what? I got more in there. I could totally grab some more out of that. Yeah.
I know I could hit it.
Right.
So, yeah. So now that's the intent with the new motor that we're building. I don't necessarily know that it'll go in the Safari truck, but it may. We'll see.
Well, since you brought up KOS, let's talk a little bit about that. When we first started that in 2017, what were your thoughts, and why were you the first one to sign up for that event and decide that that's what you wanted to do with that truck?
I really don't know. I have no clue what I was thinking. I was definitely not prepared.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So at first, when everything came together, I really thought that the competition would be a little different. I thought it would be more of a run what you brung type of thing, mm-hmm. where, maybe you change tires or you take your tailgate off, and lighten up for the drag race. You change your tires and take your tailgate off and run the truck. That was not the way it was. And I mean, I was really, really surprised with some of the setups that showed up. to the show. It was really eye opening.
Right.
But I believe that if I would have left my truck alone before the event, I probably would have done better at the first KOS.
Right.
I decided to change the tuner 3 days before the event because it had data logging and this and that, and oh, it's going to be so much better. You can change the tune on the fly. Oh man, it was terrible.
Right.
It was horrific. The tuner, when we changed the tuner, driving up there, I noticed that the truck just seemed to run totally different. I was making like 14 and a half miles a gallon everywhere with my previous tuner, and I changed to the new tuner, and it went instantly to 9. And it was like, oh, we got to drive for this competition. This isn't going to work.
Right. 100-mile drive, you would have been pushing.
right. So that little baby tank. So so the truck was definitely not responding well. The drag race portion, I changed my tires, aired down, did my whole thing, and I was having issues with the truck building boost and staging. Well, back to the tuner. First time I came in, I kind of drug in and went a little bit further than I normally do to start trying to pre-stage. And by the time I got to the lights, the temps were in the 230, 240 range. On the trans, the oil temp was around 270, and I thought, oh boy, she's probably going to not make it to the end of this short quarter-mile track.
Right.
And it ran, terrible time. It was 13-something, I think. And probably, I wouldn't say it was the worst time that was at the first KOS event, but it wasn't far off.
Right. And luckily for the first one, you weren't that far away from home. I mean, the first one that we had was Cecil County Dragway and Southern New Jersey. So
Right. So, and that was the great thing. So, after, I spent the rest of the day chasing temperatures. Not times, temperatures. And that is the worst thing to do in a competition. So I drove from Cecil back down to Baltimore, went to Craig, and I was like, this is wrong, that's wrong, blah, blah, blah. This is what it's doing. He checked the data logs. He was like, yeah, this is way off. So we spent the rest of the night trying to tune this thing. I think I put like 6 or 8 tunes on that, revisions on that programmer, and went and did field hits and everything. Didn't like any of it. Erased it, got it off the truck, put the original tuner back on, did some revisions to the tune again, maybe 2 or 3, and by that time it was around 2 in the morning, and the truck was hitting just right. It was fine. Everything was running. It was running normal. And I left and drove up to Jersey for the rest of the competition. I got there around 3:15 or so. Slept in the back of the truck. A couple times my head fell off of the tool bag that was in the back seat that I was using for a pillow and hit that roll cage. Let me tell you.
Oh boy. Sorry for making you have that, Mario.
right. And with my times, I really didn't need the daggone thing. So, but it was cool because it had to be done. It really, the truck, everywhere else, the truck runs exceptionally well. If it's on the highway, oh my goodness, I will run you down really good.
Right. And that was your that year at KOS. Was that your first time hitting the track for dirt drags and sled pulling, or?
Yeah, for sled pulling, dirt drags. I had done some dirt drags before, before I did any of the big turbo stuff. I hit it once with the 366, and then once I got to the 400s, local dirt drags really didn't want me there.
Right.
Turbo was too big, and they didn't want to see it.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of stopped doing it. So that was the first time with the big Charger on the dirt, and with such a stacked field. I mean, there was some really heavy hitter trucks there.
Oh yeah.
The first year out, it was really an eye-opening experience as to how fast some of these larger names really are.
Right. I was pretty shocked as well for the first year that we had it, that we had the reach that we had. I mean, we had a guy that came from North Dakota.
Yeah.
Andres came from, and I was like, who is this guy? I've never heard of him before, and he trucked all the way out there. I mean, and we, Justin Ziegler came and Fire Punk and stuff. I just was like, wow, I didn't think that it would be something. I thought it would be like our little podunk group, I mean, I thought it would be you and Tyler and Matt and Derek and, the guys that we see weekend in and weekend out going to races and pools and everything else and just having a good time. I figured it would be something like that, that would be pretty much what we had. It was pretty cool that it turned into a actual competition that people wanted to have and wanted to see, and what it's turned into now and will even be this year. It's kind of crazy how it progressed that fast to what it's turned into now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I would definitely say that between from the first event to this last event, oh man, total different scene.
Yeah.
It wasn't as much griping as it was the first time.
Mm-hmm.
There was a little belly aching from the crew the first time because there was some vagueness in the rules.
Right.
That a lot of folks with opportunity took advantage of.
Right.
And this time we didn't really have that.
Right. And I think it's all kind of like a test and tune thing too for us as event promoters. I think everybody is very accustomed to, trucks getting a test and tune part, but I think people don't really realize, like, hey, events, when you have a new concept out there, you need a test and tune for events too, because you have to work that out. Like, some of that stuff we didn't even think of, and these other shops were like coming out with. So I was like, how did you? What? What are you talking about here? But it was a complete. I'll agree with you. I mean, the first year we had 11 trucks that came in, and the guys that were there, it seemed like they all kind of they had their own little thing going on. And then this past year was just way more trucks. The competition was so much closer. I mean, they're second, third, and fourth tied in points. We had to do a tiebreaker between second, third, and fourth. Between 3 trucks, we had a tiebreaker. So, I mean, I think it was pretty crazy. But, again, this year you signed up first for it. And I think you definitely, in 2019, had way better polls than you did in 2017.
Yep. Yeah, I did the same thing to myself again. I got into my own head, and I decided that, there was no way that my heavy 8,400-pound truck was going to compete with the single cab, lightened up, 1,800, 1,900, 2,000 horsepower truck, and came down to it, and I was, a few feet from the bumper. And if I would have just let a little more air out of the tire, I could have taken off with full boost. Instead of 20 pounds, I could have took off with 34, and I might have been right at the front bumper nudging for that next space.
Right, right. It's crazy to know to listen to you talk and to see the difference in how you're talking about this competition versus the first year. You're like, well, I've never sled pulled before, but I'm just going to send it.
I turned the nitrous on with the street tires, and I was just, it is what it is, and if it's going to go or it's going to blow, And this year I was like, I'll probably let a little air out of the front tires, and
that was pretty cool to see how different this year was. I mean, but it still maintained that same camaraderie feel, and it's kind of cool when you spend 3 or 4 days with somebody, with a group of people that
with a large group. There was a large group this time, and we really didn't have a lot of, I got to go find a ref.
Right.
Yeah. There was, all the trucks that were there this time, I think maybe 1 or 2 people complained.
Right.
It was really that you can't beat that. That's great. That's huge achievement right there.
Mm-hmm.
The competition was, I would say, out of what was it, 50 trucks or something that signed up?
Right. Yeah, 53. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I'd say about half of them were really, really close. A few, notches here or there, difference as far as level of ability, driver ability, the ability of the truck to perform, and the driver's ability to get it done. There was a large group that were capable.
Right.
And the obvious racing came into it and leveled the field for a lot of us, with the temperatures and things like that. So that was where it kind of gave a little edge to some of the guys who had lesser power, that were able to kind of sneak in there.
Right. Yeah, we didn't really have too many absolutely quick trucks. I think when I tallied it up, it was only maybe 3 or 4 out of the whole field that required a full cage. I think everybody else was just kind of like a roll bar or nothing at all, really. I mean, second place truck, Travis didn't even, he didn't have anything. He didn't have a roll bar or roll cage, didn't need it either. So it
he didn't. He still got second. How's that? I mean, he didn't even have a truck that was, really. It wasn't a, not to try and downplay his truck or anything. His truck is awesome for what it does.
Right.
But he didn't really even have the drag racing portion. It wasn't like a lightning fast truck. Yes, it's fast, but it wasn't like setting the world on fire. But
right.
He still got second.
Yeah, and he did really well with the pulling too. I think that kind of leveled the field. Yeah, but you know what? A lot of people think they need to come into this competition and they have to have this big horsepower, quickest truck out there type of thing. And I think this year, because we had a bigger field than we had the first time we did it, we were really able to look at, when we first talked about this competition and we went over it, and you're like, what is this about? And I was like, come on, man. It's like, we want legit trucks that can do it all to come in here. We don't want somebody with, a race truck coming in and just wiping the floor, or somebody coming in with a dedicated pulling truck and whatever. But it was like a truck that you literally could go on the weekend, any event you wanted to go to, and have at it and have a good time. You might not set the world on fire wherever you go every time, but you could go and have fun with it.
Right.
So it was definitely cool to see that. And I did want to touch a little bit on your Pro Mod truck. that
Hmm.
you may be building that I heard a few things about and maybe have seen a few pictures of, but can you disclose any of that information for our race listeners that are
Well,
wanting to hear about it?
I'm a little stupid when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Play
I love,
dumb. Play dumb, Mario. Go ahead.
I love to talk about my truck, and I'll pretty much tell you whatever's in it. When it comes to the secret kind of thing, I'm not very good at that. I like to talk about my truck, talk about the setup, talk about what I've been able to get. And street racing, that might kill me. But, I don't do a lot of street racing every now and again, but you didn't hear that from me.
Never.
Yeah, the drag truck, it's a Tim McGanus chassis kit that Maryland Performance has put together. They added some bars to it so that I'll be able to race multiple classes, so that if I ever decide to sell the truck or take the truck to some not diesel event, that I'll be able to run a couple different classes with the truck.
Mm-hmm.
So the chassis is really set up as a pro mod or outlaw, or there was another class I think it would qualify for. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Probably Pro Street.
Yeah, so it's Tim McGanus chassis with a Mosier fabricated 9, Strange third member. It's around 3,000 pounds with the motor in it.
What are you putting in it for a heart?
We're putting a 6.7 Power Stroke in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be one of the first full competition 6.7 blocks that Maryland has released. I think there's 3 of them or 5 of them being built. I think there's 5 of them being built right now. One is my truck. One is another guy's truck out of Jersey. And then the other ones are were for Craig's truck that I believe he has sold now. So maybe they're going to be spares.
Maybe. What is your plan as far as if we ever do get to hit the track this year, as far as racing or anything like that? Are you looking for it to be done sometime this season, mid-season, late season, next year?
I really want it for opening. I wanted it for Rudy's,
Mm-hmm.
but now that that's canceled, I think we got a little time. As long as the electronics are completed, everything else is ready.
Right.
The motor's ready, transmission's ready. We just got to get the electronics together, and the truck is ready to go.
Great. So you should be ready for the May 23rd at Cecil, right? Because that's in your backyard.
Well, I don't want to take it out unless it's ready.
Ready. Right.
So if this thing isn't cutting under 5s, I'm not going to bring it out. So plain and simple.
Are you gonna disclose where you're gonna be doing some test passes, or maybe a test and tune track night? What track's closest to you? We might be able to catch a sneak peek of that.
So Capitol is usually where we end up.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not I do it when it's open to the public or if it's a private session,
there's a lot of tracks right now doing the private test days because it fits the limit, the 10-person limit or whatever that is. So it might work out better that way, especially for what you're trying to do and not have a huge crowd there.
Right.
It might work out better to do a private test day. I know. I believe I saw Josh did a test day at Atco a little while ago too. That Atco's a really nice track. You can get some good numbers at too.
Yeah. So we've got a Capitol's right down the road. It's really only a 20, 30 minutes from the shop. So I think that's where we'll end up. I'm not 100% sure. It might be, Atco. It might be, I can't tell you in my head because the truck is started right now. So, I mean, it's not,
right.
if it was running, I would say, you might be able to check me out over here.
Right.
But until that thing's going, I don't really like to talk about it much as far as, when do I see it coming? I don't know. When it starts, it starts. That's all I can say.
Right. Right. Well, I know I'm just as excited to see that as you are. I know I've bugged Craig about it when I saw him down at Rudy's last year. I believe it was in the fall, and I was like, come on, man, I got to see that thing. Like,
right.
I think that would be pretty cool. And
with the weight that it's going, I mean, we're going to start off low. We're only going to put a single on it and try and get the suspension and all dialed in.
Mm-hmm.
Then, once everything goes right, as far as it's tracking the right way and it feels right to me, and I get my license and all that stuff lined out, then we're going to go ham with it. And I want that truck to be north of 2,000 horsepower with a 6.7 in it and 3,000 pounds.
Sounds like it's going to be pretty rowdy for you.
Oh, yeah.
So what's going to be your plan for your safari truck when the race truck comes out? Are you going to park it? Because I know I have many, many videos and pictures of the safari truck on the track. Is your plan to park that or use it as a tow trailer or tow truck for your race trailer? Or how are you going to do that?
Well, right now, Craig said it's really stupid to have two race trucks. I don't know. It starts and it runs, so if it's there, I'm gonna run it. So, the safari truck, I don't see it really going anywhere. As far as retiring or becoming the tow rig or any of that kind of stuff. Do I think if the Pro Mod is running and it's hitting the right way, do I think I'm gonna run the Safari instead of hell no?
Right.
But if I can get some time in the Pro Mod and get that running the way I want it to, I think it'll only do better for the Safari truck because I'll know what can be tweaked in the Safari truck to get that extra little bit out of it.
Right. You're going to dedicate the Safari truck to be a KOS truck.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I like that. I like the sound of that a little better. So,
really, that's honestly that was the whole thing about. I had a couple people local that were really interested in buying the truck, and it was like, man, I don't know. If I get the other one running, I really won't need that one, and I should probably buy a dually like the what do you call it? The adult conversations start coming along.
Right.
I should probably really get a dually, and if I get a dually, I'm just going to do the same thing. So, like, I've had every truck that I've bought, like the Raptor, mid-travel, it's going to be a twin-turbo 5-liter in it. It was a daily. I was going to buy it as a daily. It's a nice plush daily. Now it's mid-travel suspension, going to have a twin-turbo 5-liter in it, and, you can jump it off of a 16-foot jump.
Yeah, you're tough trucking it through the woods with that Raptor you have.
So it, my dailies always turn out with the best of intentions,
Mm-hmm.
So if I get a dually, I'm just going to do the same thing. So it doesn't make sense to buy a dually.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you can't leave anything alone, Mario. You have to leave something alone, but I guess that's the name of this game is we can't leave anything alone ever.
Right. I mean, I was driving the bus with the Safari truck behind it out to Ohio, and I was driving up some of them hills, and the bus maintains around 70 or so going up some of them hills with the truck on it, and it was like the truck and the side by side and the big construction trailer, and it was like, man, if I had twins on this thing and some underovers, and I was like, no, stop. And I put a bigger intercooler on here, some twins, maybe a 480 over a 500. This thing will really run.
Yeah. I bet you were wondering what you could do to that thing so it wouldn't get stuck in the mud either.
Yeah, that would have been nice. Some mud tires definitely would have been nice.
That was pretty funny. I called Matt on the radio and I said, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm in Mario's bus." And I said, "What are you doing?" He's like, "He's stuck." And I said, "Well, what are you doing?" He said, "I'm adding weight."
Yeah, right. I'm jumping in the back.
That was one of the funniest moments of King of the Street, is trying to figure out why Mario's bus is stuck in the middle of a field somewhere in the mud.
Good gracious.
But yeah, it was good. It was good fun, and it's been great time talking to you tonight, Mario. I appreciate you taking out your time out of your busy schedule and your evening to chat with us about your trucks and share some laughs and all that stuff. So definitely appreciate that. And wish you the best of luck this year. Hopefully we'll be able to get to see that Pro Mod pretty soon. And we'll definitely see the Safari truck for King of the Street this year.
For sure.
Back 100%. Out at Dragway 42. We'll be back out there. So that place was pretty legit. It was pretty sweet.
Yeah, it was really nice. And the people were really cool. They did really, really good job. I couldn't be more pleased. I would have liked to have some power out there because, man, it was cold in the bus.
Yeah. I did hear that they were planning to. Now, this was prior to all this Corona stuff, but I did hear they were planning to put some pads in there and some electric and stuff because I guess they have a lot of racers that ask the same thing. So hopefully they'll have that for this year.
Yeah. Cool.
But if not, we'll Jenny it like we did last year, right?
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll make it work.
Yeah, we'll make it work. That's right.
Well, Mario, I'm sure I'll be seeing you because you're pretty local to us, so I'm sure you'll be at one of our North Atlantic Truck Racing Series races and any of the other close events that we have. I'm sure we'll see you there. So.
Oh, for sure. Only way you won't see me is if something's broke. So.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen, right?
Yeah,
oh, man.
Yep.
Well, it was good talking to you, Mario. Thank you so much, and you take care, and we'll see you later this season.
You too. See you guys.
See ya. Bye.
Bye-bye.